Good evening and welcome to the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting for August 11th, 2025. We are getting started a little bit late this evening. I apologize for that, but we had a couple meetings prior to this, so we are ready to move on right now for our agenda. The first item this evening is audience communications, and where's my look? Sorry about that. I have here this evening Nicole Van Ash. Nicole Van Ash, welcome. And you will have 3 minutes. We do have a timer limit, so that's written on the blue slip. So
may I have 4? Waiting.
Yeah, you have been waiting a long time.
I had everything in my head.
Okay, since we've been waiting a long time, we will go ahead.
Thank
you.
Yes,
you're so welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. Okay, go right ahead.
I'm here today for concern for my son for some situations that happened at Johnson Elementary. So what I'm going to do is read a letter to you that I submitted to Livonia Public Schools, to Johnson Elementary, and to the Board of Education. My name is Nicole Van Ash. I'm the mother of John Andrew Blazinski, also known as LJ. I'm writing with a heavy heart after much deliberation about my son's well-being at Johnson Elementary. On the last day of school, 2 educators wrote a false and biased letter to the friend of court. Unfortunately, due to this letter, written by 2 of LJ's educators and submitted to the friend of court, the progress that I had made for LJ was derailed. The referee assigned to the case appeared to disregard all medical documentation in favor of that letter, and as a result, LJ is not getting the medical help that he needs. LJ was diagnosed with autism at 22 months old. This February, he was diagnosed with ADHD by both his neuropsychologist and his pediatrician. With these dual diagnoses, ensuring that he is appropriately treated, particularly with the right medication, has been my top priority. I understand and I respect that the role of educators play in the lives of our children. However, when teachers offer opinions on highly sensitive medical or custody-related matters without the proper legal or administrative protocols, it can have a significant and unintended consequence, especially when those options carry out such weight in a legal setting. I have since spoken with Principal Traub, who affirmed that this is not the district policy to write letters on court-related matters, which makes the situation even more troubling. To date, I have spent $11,000 trying to ensure that LJ gets the medical care that he needs, care that was already recommended by multiple medical professionals. The delay and disruption has not only caused emotional stress and concern for my son, but a financial drain on my family. Had these educators considered the broader impact of their actions, we would not be in this position today. As of this past Thursday, I was asked to go to mediation because the trust was violated with this letter that the educators wrote. They played more weight than you know. And I was asked to give $3,000 to $5,000 more. I could not afford to do it, and I lost the case at the finish line to get him ADHD medication. So much was hinged on that letter by the 2 educators, and the end result is a child that is not getting what he needs. I respectfully request that Caitlin Stabler and Kayla Shove of Johnson Elementary no longer be involved in the decisions related to my son, LJ Blazinski, and that their intentions with him be reevaluated. There have been ongoing concerns raised by LJ himself, as well as instances where my requests as a parent were not followed through, including the implementation of simple behavioral support strategies. While I fully understand that teachers face many challenges, consistency between home and school is vital, especially for children with autism like LJ. More concerning is the pattern that emerged where one parent's alignment with school staff resulted in the minimization and legitimate concerns raised by the other. I have consistently advocated for LJ and for his behavioral boundaries and communication, social emotional support, but I've often felt that these efforts have been dismissed, and that is not what is best for LJ. At the heart of this issue is a child who is not receiving the medical treatment he needs despite the support of licensed professionals. I am asking for your help to ensure that no further harm is done. Please investigate how this situation unfolded and take necessary steps to ensure it does not happen again. This is not about personal conflicts. It's about ensuring all decisions made in school and legal settings are rooted in professionalism, compassion, and at the child's best interest. Had these educators considered the broader impact of their actions, we would not be here today. I know you would want the same for your child.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in today and for staying so late. And we appreciate that.
Thank you.
It will be followed up. You'll have a follow-up for sure. I'll make sure that I'll get this to the right person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good evening. Sure.
And then you could go to another item.
Yes, yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to item 2, the Committee of the Whole.
Oh, excuse me, folks, do you hold on?
Yeah. Yeah, let's move down then, if that's okay. Is it okay if we move down to Building and Site? Bill, would you be ready to come over for Building and Site?
Just for the record, we don't have anything.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and, item 3 is our Finance Committee. Mr. Johnson?
No, nothing tonight.
And item 4, we have the Curriculum Committee. Mrs. Acosta?
We have nothing to report this evening.
Okay, then we'll go on to item 5 for right now. We'll just move the Committee of the Whole down. And we'd like to turn that over to Mrs. Burton.
Thank you very much. The first item that we have tonight is 5A on the Marshall Jackson update, and we'll be hearing from Mr. Green.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Come on up.
Good evening.
All right. Mr. Weber will be joining me in a moment for our updates to the board this evening, but I think I can begin with the first update, and that is on the Marshall Jackson update.
Okay.
And so I wanted to thank you for our time that we spent in detail at tonight's study session on this topic. As we discussed at the study session, we gave you a detailed update on our work with the local child care center and their expiring lease at our current Marshall site, and their intent upon expiration of that lease to lease space at our Jackson site. As mentioned in our previous meeting, they are awaiting state inspection clearances on their facility to then be able to move forward in closing out their financials prior to securing such lease at Jackson. So at the time of their exit from the Marshall site, we will have a professional analysis for raising Marshall and develop a timeline for such, as well as put this project out to bid. So to summarize, our long-term goal is this school year will be to raise Marshall and lease portions of Jackson to the same local child care center that's going to be exiting Marshall. The raising of Marshall will include returning certain portions to green space and maintaining our access to Stevenson High School. This will be an ongoing item I will update the Board of Education at future study sessions and as applicable Committee of the Whole meetings.
Are there comments or questions on this item? You may not have the answer for this. I just happened to drive by it the other day and thought about it. To get back to you at another time if you like. But will there be a name change on the front of that building, or will there not? And we may not know the answer to that. Right now it says Jackson Early Childhood Center. But if we in fact have a different childhood center operating there, it's something you can get back to me later on. You probably don't have the answer tonight, and that's okay.
I think we spoke about that in the spring a little bit, and Mr. Francis spoke on that we would maintain our traditional arch and maintain it as a Livonia building, but we'd work on some temporary signage.
Yep. We'll have Mr. Francis come up and address this.
We definitely are going to keep the arch. We originally had the thought of having it say Livonia Public Schools, but then we also started discussing maybe just leaving it Jackson, removing the early type, but keeping it as like the original Jackson school.
Because everyone does
type
know
of-
what Jackson is.
You know, so just to give it that that feel of it, it's still an LPS building.
Okay.
So we'll land on one of those, but we did talk about, and we also talked quite a while ago with the folks at Learning Tree saying that the arch is going to stay up.
Right.
So they're aware of that as well. They would have their own signage separately.
Right.
You know, probably a little
Lower to
closer
the
to the
ground.
street or something like that, yeah. So it's not written in stone, it's probably written a little bit in sand, what
Okay.
we're gonna put up there, but I think the last discussion was
Okay.
maybe just giving it the ode to the original Jackson Elementary.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Any other questions on this item? Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mrs. Burton. Mr. Green, I recall that they need to have some remodeling done at Jackson.
That is correct.
I'm assuming we're not doing any of that until the lease is signed.
That is correct. There will be no updates made at Jackson until we have an updated lease with that child care center at Jackson.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right, the next item on our agenda is 5B, the AC update.
Well, thank you. I have my good friend Brian Weber from Plant Moran, Real Point, former Roosevelt parent, back when I was principal at Roosevelt. Our first interaction was back when we did the parking lot at Roosevelt, and so that's when I first learned how excellent Mr. Weber was at his job. He's here to provide an update tonight regarding our air condition implementation and repairs across the school district. This is a continued topic that we revisit often in study session. We had quite a detailed explanation this evening in study session. He's here to provide an update to the community during our committee of the whole meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Green. So I have presented a few times on the challenges we've had with some of the air conditioning systems. So coming today with some promising news that we've been working diligently this summer. We've been tracking ongoing issues last semester. It was an improved state, but there were still lingering issues. So working with Clark Construction, French architects, and then the contractors, we're down to about a handful of items with the air conditioning that we're tracking to the end of summer. So there's still ongoing work in classrooms of buttoning up the last few pieces with the items we were tracking. Ceiling repairs are ongoing right now. So if there are staff in buildings, they will see some workers ongoing, but the intent is to wrap up most of it before staff gets back next week. There will be some lingering classrooms that we would be coordinating with in some of those classes with the goal of understanding we're not impacting students once they return on the 25th. So there's been ebbs and flows of the process for the last couple of years. Everybody's understood that the district has owed a fully functioning system, and we've had challenges to get there, but we believe we found the solution after quite a few tries. What we've implemented is working. It's been proven. Working diligently with LPS's maintenance staff, Mr. Roberts and Mr. Lau. They've been an integral part of the process to help troubleshoot and bring this to resolution. So we thank them for all their hard work, and there's been a lot of effort put in by them. But we think we're there. Still a lot of work to do in the next 2 weeks, but we have the solution in place. So just a good update that we're getting there. And once again, we'll continue to monitor these classrooms into the fall semester. And it's inevitable that one or two or three or a couple may pop up. We'll track those accordingly and address them in off hours or to make sure not to impact classrooms if anything else does arise in the process. And then along with that, it's inherent that we still do get those maintenance calls. It's routed through LPS's maintenance department. It's assessed whether it's a typical maintenance thing inherent with these new air conditioning systems, or, hey, this is related to a construction item that we routed to a master spreadsheet that we're tracking with the team. It's a live update to make sure that somebody's immediately addressing it and assessing the situation. So that's an ongoing effort that will continue into the fall.
Comments or questions? Mrs. Frank?
Just, I think one of the things that you said, Mr. Green, in our study session was really helpful. If a teacher, if their room is not working, what would you recommend that they do? Call you?
Absolutely not. So they can always call me, but for this process, this is one of our user pieces that at the end of the day, someone walks in the room and they want to make sure that their air conditioning is working. And our community wants to make sure that their investment is paying off. And so we have a great process, as Brian said. He has a master spreadsheet that uploads data from our work ticket process. So teachers know to work with their building supervisor. If they have any problems at all, they would fill out that ticket, and that would then be handed over to Brian and his team and Carl and Harry to put in that master spreadsheet to see if has that work been done on that unit before, where has that ever had an issue. Every summer we're going to have maintenance issues on our air conditioning, but we want to make sure, Ms. Frank, that at the end of the day, teachers know what to do, because we don't want them calling this person or that person, because we might lose that and lose track of that. So this process seems to be working really well, and as you saw in the study session, it's a very impressive spreadsheet of project management that actually goes to the end part of where we then put the tile back up in the ceiling to guarantee that there won't be any leaks on that as well. So thanks, great question.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item? Nope. All righty. Next item is 5C, bond summer updates.
Well, again, so grateful to live in a community that supports our local bonds for our schools, and we are just happy to have another cycle of schools during the summer of 2025 that we were able to work on, including Johnson, Buchanan, Grant, and Churchill High School. Mr. Weber is going to give us an update on the summer progress. He was able to give us a pretty detailed update at our study session as well, but we'd like to share that update with the community, and then we'll have a deeper look at our summer work in our September meetings.
Yep. Thank you again. Yeah, without being too optimistic and jinxing anything, we're in good shape. We do have 2 weeks to go here. Some pretty large milestones start this week with health inspections, final inspections from fire marshal roll into next week. So everything is teed up. We had a good walk with the administration and team leadership last week, walked all the sites. A lot of good progress, a lot of lessons learned from the previous years that we've overcome. So it's been a good summer, knock on wood. But once again, we know we have these big milestones of the inspection. So typical last few summers, it's heavy work in the LMCs, it's heavy work in the kitchens, overhauling that. Bathrooms that have not been touched in decades are also being touched. But very good signs of progress, work to date. Compared to the last few summers, we're sitting pretty well here. So we're going to continue to monitor it, push hard, understand that priority is getting kids in classrooms and not affecting them. And then, as mentioned, in September, we intend on being here with a dashboard update. We'll encompass that. And then also touch on, we do have a lot of sinking fund projects ongoing with paving and roofing and other projects as well. So we'll give a full update, financials, and schedule, and kind of a recap of all the good news from the summer here. So I'll leave it at that, making sure that there is no jinxing going on. But
Alrighty.
we're sitting good.
And we're going to continue our process on our schedule this year. We talked about this in the spring of getting you out to those buildings for meetings this year, because that's one of our greatest points of pride is for you to be able to see those enhancements.
Excellent.
Great.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very
All
much,
set,
Brian.
thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. The next item is 5D TransFinder update. Mr. Green.
Okay, once again, I appreciate, usually we have a study session one week and the committee of the whole the following week, and at that study session, we talk in detail about all these topics. So earlier this evening, we spoke quite a bit about our TransFinder and routing updates in our transportation department. As for our community, TransFinder, specifically Route Finder Plus, is being used this summer for routing our students for transportation services. This is something that we do each and every year at this time of year. We route our students for busing. So routing is in full force from our transportation department. In regards to TransFinder, you might have recalled from our meetings last year, there will be additional modules that will become available in this purchase, including geo alerts for parents, which we hope to launch after the start of the new year. But for this evening's meeting at the study session, we talked about our main priority right now and these past few months has been the training on our new software and the summer routing process. We currently have about 83% of our targeted families that have applied for transportation services. So we've been spending quite a bit of time in the last few weeks sending out messaging to the community. Ms. Jenkins in communication has done a fantastic job to remind families as they start gearing down from summer and gearing up for the start of the school year that if they believe their children may have eligibility for transportation, to click on that link and follow the directions, and then that routing software will determine whether or not their child is eligible based on our walk zones. So those reminders continue to go out. If you go to Livonia Public Schools' main website, there will be a little pop-up that will be a reminder. If you are a parent and you go into your Parent Connect application, there will be a little blurb in there as well. So remind, and that is really important because we have a deadline of August 13th, 2 days from now, that we are going to pause those registrations, and that's going to give our transportation department the ability to finalize the uploads that they need to do and the analysis that they need to do to route all students. We certainly will accept those applications, but we will not promise any routes for students until the week of September 8th if they're past that deadline. But our transportation, I will tell you right now, department will do all they can as those come in to route students. Parents would then be responsible for checking in on Parent Connect to see if there's any updates to their child's routing information. So that's part of the backstory here that we talked about at the study session. And again, this is something that we do each summer. We route students for transportation. And our new software has improved efficiencies in our routing. And so as a result, we will be publishing this week updated walk zones to our families on our websites. And as we spoke at the study session, there will be an accompanying message to families. We also spoke at our study session that there will be some changes in service for some families. And that will be something we'll be able to have a final determination on once all of those registrations are in. And so as we spoke at the last meeting, this software really has done a great job of improving efficiencies. And so we want to recognize that some families who may have had transportation service in the past may not be eligible this year. And we'll work with those families and we'll communicate that out. But first things first, we need to make sure everyone that wants to be considered for transportation, we want to check that eligibility in our routing software. So we have a deadline of this Wednesday. Once that deadline passes, we'll do some deep dive analysis the following week. And then we'll launch those schedules on our Parent Connect, not only classroom teachers on August, the Thursday, the 22nd, 21st, and we'll then also have that bus routing information for families. In the meantime, that communication that families will see this week from communication department and myself will include information on the walk zones and if their impact, what that impact may mean for them. So we want to be very transparent in this process with our families. So I think we've done a great job of doing that, having them apply and see if they're eligible, publishing those walk zones and being very transparent about any changes in those maps, and then obviously working to make sure that we get kids to and from school safely each and every day, which is the most important priority.
Sounds great. Are there questions or comments on this? Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mrs. Burton. Mr. Green, I may have dreamt this. I'm not 100% sure. Was there some software or something that went on the buses?
There is going to be some software that's going to go on the buses.
I didn't dream it.
There's a whole suite of applications from Route Finder Plus, which is basically for the routing. And then we have Viewfinder, that's for staff, where they can monitor what's going on. And then we have eventually for parents Stop Finder, which is like a geo alert, where they'll be able to see where their children are. And then down the road, we also have things for maintenance of the buses. So there's a whole application of products for this that we can't wait to one piece at a time. So all their awesome parts of TransFinder is going to be great, but right now we just need to get those kids on buses and get them to school. That's the primary objective.
And
Great.
Mr. Green, I believe you said in the study session that the parent app where they can track where their child is, that we anticipate rolling out in January?
We sure are going to try to go for that deadline. We early on we were thinking we might be able to launch it within the first month of school, and then there was some pushback that it might not happen this year, and then there was some pushback from myself and Mr. Francis that it will happen
Saying,
this
yes,
year.
it will,
And it will happen hopefully January.
Okay.
Because that's going to be a really important tool for our
Absolutely.
families.
That's a huge peace of mind for parents to know exactly where their kiddo is, or if their kiddo is with them and they're waiting for their bus, to know where,
It's pretty
where that
amazing.
is.
Yeah, or if there's a delay on the
Absolutely.
busing or
And
anything.
all those improvements in messaging to parents is part of this as well, if there are delays.
Yeah, that's great.
That's fabulous. Alrighty, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That concludes Building and Site.
Thank you, Mrs. Burton. All right, we're going to skip back up to item number 2, the Committee of the Whole, and we're going to talk about 2A, the approval of the 2025-26 Board of Ed Professional Development. Mrs. O'Quist.
Thanks so much, President Bradford. We are indeed going to be bringing to you on Monday, the 18th, the approval of an updated policy BBBC, which guides us on approving purchases for conferences, webinars, attendance, and board development, professional development. In the previous year, we approved in August a total of $15,000 could be spent for those purposes. We spent just over $11,000 on the professional development activities of our board, which is beyond money well spent. And again, that is for 7 individuals. This year, we have found that not only are conference costs going up, but as our accommodations, and we also do have a new board member, and that new board member will be taking additional classes. So it is our recommendation that we would bring forward up to and not to exceed number of $18,000 for this school year, and that for each individual board member, if any individual board member is planning on an expenditure of more than $1,000 for any given conference or expense, that would need to come to the board for prior approval. Otherwise, this authorization will cover all of the expenses for the school year.
Great, that sounds good. Any questions or comments regarding that? I think we did discuss that due to the rising costs of things, it's probably best to
Yes.
put that up a little bit. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item B, the name of the board committees. Mrs. Oquist.
Thank you.
Board committees.
So this is a brief item. We did discuss it, and we did come to agreement that we will be doing some updating of our board committees. Our Building and Site Committee will now be named the Operations Committee to better encompass all of the departments within operations, not limited only to our facilities. The Curriculum Committee will be renamed the Division of Instruction, so that will encompass elementary, secondary, student services, and our academic services department. So all four of those departments combine to create the Division of Instruction. The Personnel Committee will be renamed Human Resources, again, to have the broader connotation that is covered by Human Resources. And finally, the Policy Committee will be renamed the Board Policy Committee. And so I will bring that bylaw to the August 18th meeting so that we can change the names of those committees, and we will also update the order of the agenda. Based on the feedback at our study session, our board members were in agreement with that.
Perfect. Any questions or comments regarding that? Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, President Bradford. I just want it to be known that a lot of these things go on behind the scenes, and I know you, Mrs. Bradford, and Mrs. Oquist meet weekly. And you discuss a lot of these items. You spend a lot of time putting those together to bring to us.
Correct.
So I just want to express our appreciation for the time that you put in to do that.
Thank you.
It's
It's
our
our
pleasure.
pleasure. We like it. All right, that concludes Committee of the Whole, item 2, Committee of the Whole. We're going to skip back on down to item 6, the Policy Committee, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Frank.
Thank you very much. We are going to go over to our finance policies. Mrs. Smith is going to review those with us. Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you
Smith.
so much, not only for the time now, but for the time during our study session to go over a couple recommended updates to our fiscal management section D of the board policies. Earlier this evening, we talked about removing some of our administrative procedures, but there are 2 board policies that we also discussed. One was DFB, and the title of that one is Federal and State Aid. It's a very short board policy that reads that the Board of Education may accept federal funds and state categorical funds and administer them as directed by law. And we had discussions about removing that board policy because it's inherent that the school district has the authority to accept those funds, and to have a board policy that states that really does not add value. So we had discussions with that, and it seemed like there was support from the board to move forward with that removal of that policy. The other policy that we spoke about was DJCA, payday schedules. This was another short policy that it actually wasn't updated that long ago, back in 2023. But upon further review of it, it simply says for payday schedules, see the individual master agreements on the district's website, and it lists out our collective bargaining agreements. And the thought being, our employees are not going to board policy to find out what the payday schedules are. So again, does it have a purpose to keep it in our board policy book? And we had discussion about that, and I believe that was support to remove that board policy, as well as the corresponding administrative procedures. So with your permission tonight, I'd love to add that to the agenda for our regular meeting for our first reading.
Yes, perfect. Any comments or questions? Those are administrative procedures, so we don't vote on those. Those were just for the board information.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
And then we are going to do some human resource personnel policies. Mr. Abate.
Yeah, so what we are reviewing are non-discrimination policies related both to personnel and to students. And why don't we begin with the largest one that's referenced in all the others, which is GAAA, personnel non-discrimination. And done a couple of things here. One, we've added to the title, so it reads Civil Rights and Title IX, because that is the subject of the policy, of course, but it all kind of flowed together before, and it was missing some of the Title IX components, or the sort of modern Title IX components. Also, in looking this over, it's determined that there's some procedure built into here that was there originally. I tried to pull it out and bullet it, but it doesn't necessarily belong in a policy. It's something that can be in the admin procedure. So that's been flagged to move in that direction, and we'll take it out of the policy. We'll put it where it belongs. We also had some conversation, some note about there was a 10-day calendar day window for reporting such events. I think we've settled on the phrase promptly reporting to take care of that bit. And the biggest piece of this particular policy is the Title IX piece that we've added in that was missing, and I think missing from this spot where I think it really belonged. And so we'll clean up the procedural stuff and the calendar day window and those types of things. That's pretty simple. We'll make sure that that is set for you when we come back for a reading. That part is easy. Now, the other policies reference this one. And so why don't we switch to, am I moving too quickly?
Does anybody have any comments?
I do.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mrs.
On
Frank.
GAA?
On GAA, I'm assuming, Mr. Abati, that the red addition, Title IX sex discrimination complaints came from Title IX?
Yes, well, and the recommended policy language from Miller Johnson that we tend to lean on when we need to add something meaty like this. So this is something I've kicked back and forth with Mr. Sutton and put together for our purposes here. But yes, it does reflect what's expected of us legally.
Do we need to add a legal reference to Title IX?
We can certainly do so.
Any other comments?
I would just say, while we are talking about legal references, in one particular case, and it may be because of the policy itself, we referred to the Civil Rights Act and Disabilities Act, but there was another one where there was a specific case, a legal reference to a specific case. So I'm just not sure if we want all of the legal references at the bottom of the policies to agree, if they all need to be the same or not. So we just might want to double check that when we update the legal references.
Okay.
On the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. We'll look across all 4 of these,
That
and we'll
sounds
see
great.
if they need agreement.
Okay, Mrs. Burton?
Yes, Mr. Abate, recognizing that I was the one that asked that we move some of these things into administrative procedures, can we also check with our legal team and make sure that we aren't legally required to have this in policy per se?
Sure.
If we're required to have it in policy, well, then we have to leave it in policy, and that would remove the request to move some of these things into an administrative procedure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would be surprised if that was the case, but it's certainly worth the question, right?
Just
While we're
because
looking at
harassment law is getting pretty precise right now, and I don't want to do something that fits our organizational structure and find out that it violated the law.
it. Right. Okay, I'm just making a note.
Do we want to move to JAA, or do you have a different one you want to go to, Tony?
Sure, we can go to JAA.
Okay.
Okay, so JAA is a reference to equal educational opportunities. This is from the student section. You'll note that we moved the expanded definition of an individual's sex that is pulled from the GAA policy so that we have agreement that goes across. We also had that same issue with the 10 calendar day window in terms of reporting, and had landed on the concept of should promptly as the phrase that we prefer. And again, to Ms. Burton's question on the admin procedure piece, there is a latter half of that middle paragraph that could potentially be moved to admin procedure pending what we hear from the question that we have with our attorneys about whether we can actually move it.
Any questions on that? You did say to take out that may. I'm sorry if I didn't hear you, right? You're going to take out that policy. may
Yes,
file and-
yeah, may file and change to should promptly.
Perfect. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Okay. We'd like to look at GAEA.
Okay.
So the primary changes here, again, putting in the proper definitions in that first paragraph. We've found in the middle paragraph repeated reference to shall immediately report incidences, which is very different than what we found in the other policies. So again, we'll make an adjustment there to match the phrasing of should promptly. We'll fix that paragraph with that item. And the last piece of that was simply moving the advisory about reprisal or retaliation to the very end, which I think it makes sense logically as you read through.
And these are all for first reading for next Monday. JCED?
JCED.
Are any questions about that? I'm sorry. That one, okay. JCED.
All right, this is a personnel policy, discriminatory harassment of students. This, of course, is what appropriately prevents or prohibits our employees from engaging in that behavior. So similar to the last policy, the expanded definition there in that first paragraph, the reprisal piece at the bottom, minimal edits to this particular one. It does not have those procedural items in it that need a correction. So we should be good there.
Any comments on this one? Tony, just in that 1, 2, third paragraph, is that line in the comment that's just a comma after disciplinary action? Is that just saying you're adding a comma there? Or you're adding a dash? Do you see that?
Oh, in that second to last?
Yes.
I was perhaps getting picky, but I don't think those commas are necessary.
So you're taking out the comments?
Yeah,
Okay.
when we say disciplinary action up to and including, I don't know that needs to be its own separate
So
piece.
the dash is saying it's
It's
that
that
comma's
it's
coming
out,
out? Okay.
unless we like it for stylistic purposes or grammatical purposes, but I just don't think I don't think you need it.
I just wasn't
Where's
sure.
Liz when
Sometime-
we need her?
Sometimes I get way down in the weeds, you know?
Yeah. Perfect, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Anything else on these 4 policies?
No.
Okay, that concludes the policy committee.
Why,
Mr.
thank you,
Bradford.
Mrs. Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Abate.
Thank you, Mr. Abate. All right, moving on to item 7, the Personnel Committee. Since Mr. McFarland is not here this evening, Mrs. Burton, would you mind taking that over?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
And the first item under personnel is item 7A, approval of virtual learning. And we will be hearing from Mr. Francis. Good evening.
How's everybody
Good
doing?
evening.
Doing well, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. This is something that the board has approved in the past. This is an item that will likely become an annual item as we continue to move on. So this is the district's plan for the virtual days. This is something that the state of Michigan and from the pupil accounting manual has a portion of the accounting manual outlines what districts can do with regard to the extension of these virtual days for the reasons. There's really 2 main ones. One of them is for student testing, which we do utilize at the secondary level. So this is a common item. And the other one is for the what you would call emergency days or act of God days. So for example, we have had in the past what might be a snowstorm or an ice storm, so the entire district might be out. So that's a day that we've lost for an act of God day. Now the state of Michigan will forgive up to 6 of those in a given school year. That's the common piece. But sometimes we go beyond that, maybe as a district, also maybe as a specific school, maybe one, maybe more, because perhaps they had a water main break and we had to close that school. And another time they had a power outage and we closed that school. So the district may have had 6 as a district, but then a school had a 7th or an 8th or a 9th, and it goes beyond that. So the minimum hours and days are still required. What this would allow us, with the board's approval, would be able to say, whether it as a full district, if we were going to go over, or for a singular school, to say, we're gonna turn this into a virtual day, therefore there would be virtual learning, and we would not lose the day from the tenets of the pupil accounting manual. Does that make sense? So it can be used in different ways, and again, we've been using this specifically at secondary, and the board did approve this last year, because ultimately it comes down to the funding. If we don't hit our hours and our attendance for those days, we potentially lose state funding if we don't have the hours and the minutes.
Are there comments or questions on this item? Mrs. Frank?
Sorry. So Buchanan has a power outage. So Buchanan doesn't go to school on Tuesday. Remind me what this virtual does. Buchanan has virtual school Tuesday?
We could do that, yes.
But we don't have to.
Exactly. We could do it until you get beyond. So this isn't gonna be automatically right away, but just as Mrs. Oquist stated. So I don't want anybody who might be watching this, hearing that, say, there will no longer be snow days or weather days or whatever you want to call it. We are talking about the board approving so that, again, we get 6 forgiven from the state. This would be if we were going into a 7th.
Right, and that community will know that they're on their 6th day, that if there's a 7th, that will be communicated to that school. They know
Yeah,
that.
and in all honesty, just to be frank, because we've had more than 6 in some of the past years, we didn't last year. Previously, the state superintendent has approved 3 additional forgiven days if you've written the state and shared the unique circumstances. So many areas in Michigan were impacted in the Gaylord area with that ice storm. And they missed, I think, close to 15 days just during that period of time. And that actually had to go through to the legislature as well. That took quite a while, but they did approve those days. So we may still have the opportunities for those 3 additional, but we are going to get a new state superintendent this fall, and you never know when that may change. This just allows us, in the event we got to that point, if we thought we were going to have to do that, we would absolutely communicate clearly ahead of time. And also, you have some flexibility in that it is not necessarily a 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. all-day virtual. You could simply have things on a Google Classroom. You could have check-in hours with the teacher. So it would not be that they would be on screen the entire day as a virtual day.
And again, this all comes down to the 6 that are automatic. If we don't get those, having this as a backup plan for it. So this is, again, not to say, there's other things you can do, like lose the funding or bring students back in June after the school year is ended. There's other options. This is probably the wisest and most direct and least disruptive of our backup plans or safety nets that we could come across.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And Mr. Johnson?
Just a question. What happens if I think I probably know the answer, if you go beyond 15 days? For some wild reason.
I think it's something, I'm not gonna, but I would, if the state didn't step in and say there was some kind of catastrophe in the state of Michigan, which is why there was that many days, then the only option you would have is to either lose the funding or extend the school days. We would choose to extend the school year if there's that many days.
We gotta protect the.
Because you're talking that's 21 at that point.
Right, okay. That's what I thought.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to be sure.
No, great question.
Any other comments or questions on this item? No? All right.
May we put this on for the board to vote next week, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Then the next item on our agenda is item 7B, which is the new staff orientation update. And we'll hear from Mr. Francis.
Thank you. For those who, and I know we've discussed this a little bit at the study session, but for those who haven't heard, we've got a new school year coming up. And it's coming up quickly. And we, of course, are excited for the students to be joining us on the 25th, but on the 18th, our staff returns to school. And many of our staff members work year-round, but we have a whole bunch who come back for the school year. And amongst those, as not seemingly, it felt very recently that we sat in this very room and the board had given their congratulations to many people who had retired from the district. So of course, we have to hire new folks. And these aren't just teachers. We're always hiring different folks. We've got teachers, paraprofessionals, secretaries. We've got bus drivers and bus parapros. So there's all kinds of folks who are new employees. And we want to welcome them later this week on Thursday. We'll be doing that over at Stevenson High School. We've invited the new employees to come in. We're going to have a little bit of fun with them and tell them about Livonia Public Schools and all the great things that are going on in this district. We're going to have our partners from Livonia Educational Association join us, and they're going to have some information about mentoring new teachers, and they're going to talk with the new teachers that are coming in. We've got lunch for them. We've got some training that as we have all of our staff do with regard to crisis intervention protocols. So we've got our professional coming in from SEC who has done this for the last few years with our employees. So we've got a packed day. It's going to be a fun day. It's always fun to meet the new. I'm really going to start doing that. I'm Lebanese. I talk with my hands, so I'll put them down. It's a fun day. We've done this. I mean, we've done it so many years in a row, and they're all a little different. And it's all a little, because it's a different makeup each year. We tweak our presentations from year to year to try to make them a little bit more impactful or learn from the year before. But it's a fun time. And when we see young teachers at their first job and they're coming back, and a bunch of them end up being graduates of Stevenson or Franklin or Churchill, it's just so fun to see them and chat with them. And they don't know what they don't know. And I think back about when I rolled into this district and I was in that 100 other people with me all hired up, and we're all going, I don't know what I'm doing over here, but okay, this is great. I'm excited to be in Livonia. And, I hope it works out half as well for all these new folks as it's worked out for me, because Livonia's been nothing but good to me.
We're glad to hear.
That's awesome.
Comments or questions on this item?
No, it should be an exciting day.
It will be very fun.
Wait for Mrs. Bradford to kick us off.
I know, I was gonna say, I
Can't wait to be
love
there.
that it's really new staff signing day.
Is
And
it?
I love that.
That's a fun
part of
little,
it.
yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They will have their.
Yeah,
That's fun.
okay.
Other
Thank you.
Comments or questions on this item? All righty. Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Francis. And that concludes personnel.
Why, thank you, Mrs. Burton. We're going to move on to item 8, the Legislative Committee. Since Mrs. Jarvis isn't here, I'll send it over to Mrs. Acosta.
Thank you, President Bradford.
You're
We
welcome.
have no legislative items to bring to you this evening.
Except, can we please get
Yeah, can we get a budget?
a budget
How
going?
Nifty.
Yes.
Yeah,
Kids are coming. We need a budget. Come on, Lansing.
we needed one last June.
All right. Okay, well, with that, wow, thanks if you hung in tonight out there in Livonia watching us on TV tonight. We bid you a great night, and we got fun things happening in the district. We're starting back up, and we're excited about it. So, but the best news tonight is we're adjourned. So we'll see you next time, next week, actually, on the 18th. Good night.